This is Bill McMinn from Makeable Bible Church, and this is the Way to Go podcast, where we talk about faith, family, and daily life, putting the Bible into practical, everyday terms. Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. I am Bill McMinn. Along with me is Eric Barfell, and we're actually just having a great conversation before, actually, the podcast. We're having like the pre-podcast talk. All about finances, all about what's going on in the world.
And it's heated. It is heated.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Not between us.
In a passionate way.
Yeah, we're passionate. Yeah, absolutely passionate about it. I think that my concern is, you think of the American dream, right? And the American dream is you can succeed. And I always thought of the American dream more like, have a family, have a house, and, the white picket fence. But when I looked up the definition of the American dream, it was more, if you work hard enough, you can be successful. Like anyone can achieve success because it's a fair playing field. So everyone's got the same opportunity to go out there and hustle. And to a large extent, I do believe that's true. And I don't want people giving up on it. And that's one thing that I'm afraid of, because some of the young people that I talk to, and I'm not saying just from the church, just in general conversations that I'm having, and also by what I'm just noting anecdotally as I look around at some of my extended family, hey, the generations they were in college in 20 somethings, and now I see them turn in the late 20s and 30 somethings, don't have a house, not married, no kids, not proceeding. And then I talked to a young couple, and they were more. Are
they even in a relationship, dating at all?
No, not even that. And then I had, not all, I saw a couple were married, most of them weren't, but then I talked to a couple, and they just felt like, well, we'll probably never have a house, and we'll probably always be renting, and we'll probably never get ahead. And I'm wondering, where does this mentality come from? What is this thinking that we're giving up? So that kind of stuff has been on my mind. And also the credit card debt, that when I just did a podcast with Bradley, and I was looking up the credit card costs were 21 to 25%. I think they said 24.7% was the average credit card in America right now. And I'm thinking that's an astronaut. To me, humbly, that's an astronomical number. I remember a day when it was 14%. I thought that was high. And then 16%, I thought that was really high. Now I'm hearing these poor people are getting charged 24%, and that's alarming. And you hear people like something happened to them that they couldn't control, like they lost a family member, then they got hammered, or kind of on the hook for the payment to do the funeral. And even though they try to do it as cheaply as possible, I talked to one person, that person is going to be paying on a credit card for 20 years, paying the minimum. It's unbelievable. And so I look at that kind of stuff, and I'm just wondering, man, what can we do? And some people, maybe there's not a lot. Other people, I think there's a lot of options. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about.
Cool.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is really interesting because I come from like the millennial perspective. I'm only 31 years old, so I'm right in the age ranges of your nieces and nephews.
Right.
What's your generation?
I don't know. Oh, boomer.
Boomer.
I'm just out of X.
Boomer.
Gen X. I'm a boomer. I'm the one they always rip on.
Okay, boomer.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's like the hardworking
Here's
generation.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Because in your summers in college, you could work a summer job, scoop an ice cream, and pay off tuition and textbooks for the whole year of college. More or less. My mom did it.
Not quite. But yes, it was a lot cheaper. Agreed. 1,000%. It was $4,000, $5,000 a year. Sometimes when I first started, probably $3,500 a year for food,
$3,500,
lodging, and everything.
3,5.
Yeah.
Now
we're
it's
making $3 an hour
5,
too.
comma.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Ain't no summer. That's a like. It's not even a salary when you get your first job. Maybe it is. Maybe not.
You weren't, trust me, we were all working. You were not able in the summer to pay for it, but it was a lot easier to pay for it when you got out. I can tell you
close.
that. My wife,
exactly.
My wife was working all summer. She had $8,000 worth of college debt when we first got married. So, she was doing everything she could. She worked her whole time through college. She was working as a waitress all the time. She was always hustling and working.
Yep.
And in my generation too, you were on the hook for everything. Now, you didn't have any cell phone. There was no cost like that. There wasn't even any such thing as internet, so you didn't have that kind of cost. But for your own insurance, for your own car, for your own gas. And we drove the kind of cars that every time you went to the gas pump, you filled the tank and you put a quart of oil in the car. Those are the kind of cars we were driving. I mean, they were blowing blue smoke out all over the place. The engines were so bad. The cars were so old.
And how much was a tank of gas?
Well, it was probably only
guessing
$20
for the.
Well, it was about $1. It was like 98 cents. So if you had a 15-gallon tank, I don't
Right.
really remember what my Dodge Charger held. I mean, it was so many years ago.
Right.
And to be honest, did we ever really fill them? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we didn't.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we were poor. I mean, we were cash starved. Like, we had nothing. I didn't even go to the vending machine maybe twice in my entire college experience. Like, I went and got pop for 35 cents for a can of pop. I might have done it twice the entire time I was there. That's how poor I was. So
can of soda's like $2 in a vending machine. Yeah. I don't actually know.
What has gone up, and I would agree that clearly college tuition has outpaced income. And my kids went, so we had to hustle to help them pay through college. So, I mean, that's kind of part of our story too. Part of my life story, or life's stories of things that have happened to me is, the hustle it took to help keep them out of debt.
Yeah.
And I did okay. Like, my one daughter might have $8,000. She paid it off the first year she was out of college. She paid that off. My other daughter still has some college debt. My son had none, because but my son also was in the honors program and his college was $4,000 a year less. That made a big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But I remember the years we had 2 kids in college. Like, that was
hurts. Stings.
Yeah, that was not fun. And all the tuition was coming on the credit card.
Right.
And I had to pay it off every month. So, I mean, it was an amazing.
At 24% interest.
Whew. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, we didn't.
12% interest.
We never.
Back then.
We always paid it off. It just. Yeah, a lot of hustle. A lot of hustle by mom and dad. A lot of hustle by them in the summers. But you're right.
I remember seeing a picture of my great grandfather. He passed away. I was in 7th grade, so like 2007. It was him in front of a gas station. I'm looking at all these 7-Up signs you got over here. Look like that. Gas was 19 cents or 17 cents, 19 cents a gallon. It was just like, jeez.
Well, look at some of the pictures Aaron just pulled up of the old, I don't know, some diner that was in, I don't know what even store it was, Woolworths, McCurry's, whatever, somewhere up in Ashtabula, and you could eat a slice of pie, it seemed like was 15 cents, or you get a whole sandwich for $0.25. It's unbelievable. You're right. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Even the $5 footlong is long gone.
Yeah, but here, let me though ask this. Let's be honest. You think about society and talk about it. You look at the homes that people were living in. Like, the home I grew up in was very small. You go through Ashtabula and see the homes that were built in the 1950s. When everything was cheap, their homes are very small. Look at today, the gargantuan homes by comparison that people are building. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems to me like, yes, we might have less money. Like you're saying, college is more expensive. There's more debt. Other things have gone up. Cars, my goodness. I mean, cars have gone up in price phenomenally, and I need a truck for my property, so those are even more expensive. Well, I'm looking used, to be honest. I don't know, but on the other hand, I also see people building pretty big homes. So what does that mean? I'm not saying they're doing it right now.
Yeah,
prices have gone up quite a bit. You look at what you paid for your house, and you're feeling blessed at what you paid for your house. When you were buying your house, I was thinking of what houses used to cost, because you ran into the same problem where houses in your town were half that.
Yeah,
probably 4 or 5 years prior to you buying.
When I told people I was looking at a house in Rock Creek for, I think, $160, people thought I was buying half of Rock Creek.
Right.
Oh, you're the king of Rock Creek. You're buying half the town. I mean, it was first time home buy, nothing compared to. The neighbor's house was $10,000 more or whatever. People are like, "Oh, that's so much money in Rock Creek." It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't know.
Right.
But you look at the history, it's like, oh yeah, that's a lot of money.
Right.
For the location.
Yeah.
But I get it has some property, but any other
house. That was the era that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That was a moment. I highly doubt your home has gone down in value.
Yeah, it's gone up slightly. No, I don't think a ton.
That's what I was thinking. It has not gone down. So
Right.
I don't think when you bought it, it probably hadn't even hit its peak yet, but it was on its way. You know, I think some of my property, I'm sure, is peaked at this point. Like, it's probably worth a set amount. I don't know if it's going to be going up anytime. You know, next 2 years, I don't anticipate like huge meteoric rises in property values.
But my neighbor's trying to sell his house and move down to Cortland. He's like, there's no houses for sale. There's no houses for sale.
Wow.
I've talked to a couple other people, and they're like, yeah, we want to move. You know, we want to upsize, and we got more kids now, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. They're like, there's no houses available. And if there are,
what is your take on
$1
that?
zillion.
Millennial. What's your take
On
that?
what?
Yeah, people not buying homes.
I think it stinks. In 2020, we saw this massive housing bubble, and people were like, oh, it's going to pop. It's going to pop. The rates and the prices are going to drop, and it didn't. And in my opinion, I think it's because people were willing to pay those, and they were. They ain't even seen the house yet in person. They're buying houses left and right. That's literally what was happening in 2020. And so it didn't burst and come plummeting down like people hoped for.
Right.
Instead, it kind of leveled off.
Right.
And that was, unfortunately, in the 2020 terms, the new normal, right?
I think you're absolutely right.
And as a result, all these houses are very expensive, but it's like, is this actually the worth and the value of the house?
Well, and also landlords. I mean, what people are paying for rent is far higher than what it used to be. And I think
it's insane.
I think those prices have been in some ways artificially inflated because people realize, hey, my buddy's getting more for his house, so I'm going to jack mine up. Even though you bought your house at a certain period of time, you only have responsibility for a certain mortgage, but you're going to take it away from these people, and some of these people are hurting. And I think there should be consideration for the poor in our land and not take advantage of them. And that's a conversation that Aaron, who's in here producing the show with us, and you and myself, we've had about our area, that sometimes we feel like people are taking advantage and being rough on people who are hurting or who are hurting. And I don't think that's, if you're a landlord, I don't think that's what you should be doing. I think you should
It's not a feeling. That's a fact. People are getting taken advantage of.
People are getting taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
But now, we laid out some of the problems. We laid out credit card problems. We laid out college debt is huge. I think those are issues. Vehicle costs are up and so on and so forth. Now, what are you going to do about it? And I want to talk about credit cards some. I want to talk about hustle. I want to talk about side hustle. I want to talk about spending less. I mean, there's a number of things, that you can do or strategies you can use.
I will say, though, eggs are not out of this either. The price of eggs, they're not out of this conversation either.
Yeah, but we've got a supplier here at our office because we have Brad, the egg supplier.
We got a dealer.
We got a dealer. We got an egg dealer, so we're all okay.
It's under the table.
But I like it when it says Proverbs 6:11, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It's just so phenomenal to me that go look at an ant. Now, it's fascinating because my wife hates ants. So I can't imagine actually going, I want you right now to go out into that yard, and I want you to look at ants, and I want you to ponder them, because she really doesn't like them. And if she sees one ant in our house, she says, we have an ant problem. And it's been a standard joke. It's been a standard joke for years. It's like, one ant, we have an ant problem. Because as she says, when there's one, there's always more. There's never just one ant. They come in groups. So she sees an ant, there's an ant problem. So she doesn't really like ants. But I look at ants and realize there are certain things, if you look at nature, and I think it's a cool thing that Solomon's saying, hey, look at it.
Right.
Just look at the ant. Consider what the ant does. Learn from the ant and be wise. Be smart. You be smart if you consider an ant. So observations about an ant. All right. So that's just go to the ant sluggard, consider its ways. Okay. Solomon, I'm pondering right now. I'm considering the ways of an ant. And what do I note about an ant? They're small. They're not very big. Compared to what they get done and compared to what they accomplish, they're not very big. They are always industrious. Ants don't stop moving. You don't see ants breaking. You don't see ants just laying on their back, taking in some sun rays. That ant is always scurrying around looking for something to carry back to the hive, right? Or nest or whatever they call it. They work together and they can carry weight, man. I mean, an ant, woo.
Was it like 10 times their body weight?
Oh, easily.
100 times, whatever it is.
Yeah. Have you ever seen an ant carrying something that's like so much bigger than itself?
Oh, yeah.
It's got it up in his claws. It's like little ants like marching across all proud with some big trophy bug it just killed or
Dude's
found
got a
or whatever.
Ritz cracker above its head. Jeez, this thing's huge.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well,
they come in all different sizes, too. They're all the same shape, but they come in different sizes. I got these little, like, microscopic ones.
Right.
And then out on the deck, I got those big old black ones. I'm
Right.
like, geez, this thing is huge.
Right.
It's like a little, they go for like sugar. The little ones on the counter, they're real tiny ones.
Right.
I don't know where they're coming from. I'm spraying and spraying.
You ever see an anthill? Like an anthill back in the field?
Oh, yeah.
I'll hit them sometimes with the brush hog, which is not recommended.
It's like they explode. Yeah.
They've been a pretty big hill. And you ever go look at one, they're pretty busy. Like man, ants just kind of busy. And I don't like hanging out there. You know, if I find an anthill, you know, I'm not going to let them climb on me and bite me because they do bite.
Fire ants, yeah.
I'm not even that. They're a little bigger. I don't know what kind of ants they are. They're
when I lived in Florida,
field mounding ants, whatever that kind of ant is. So
when I lived in Florida, I mean, there were fire ants, man. Those things hurt. Right. You step on one of those, you're like, oh, I thought it was just walking in sand. Nope, that's an anthill, and you're running.
I'll tell you an ant story later. Verses 7-8.
Can't wait.
It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. And this is really the verses I want to focus on here. No commander, no overseer, no ruler. Basically, bossless. They don't have a boss. But it's out there storing provisions in summer and gathering food at harvest. No one's even telling it what to do. It just knows what to do. And the first thing that I note there is the importance of being self-motivated. If you're going to climb out of anything, it's going to take a lot of motivation to do it. So, you know, we talk to people and I'll hear big terms. I mean, for people who don't own homes, tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay. So how are you ever going to, carrying that kind of debt, ever going to get a house? And I don't even know like what all their debts are. Mm-hmm. But I've got a feeling they probably have varying degrees of interest rates on said debt, right? So credit card debt's going to have a higher interest rate than perhaps a government college loan, which are capped, I think it's 6% The big college loan debts you're going to get is when you're doing it privately. The private, it can go up to 16% if you have a private college debt. If you have a government, I was actually happy to hear that it wasn't like credit card debt for the college debt for some of these young people, at least. Okay, 6% is still 6%, but it's not as bad as some others. But if you're at a private institution, then all bets are off. Then it can be a wide range. So I don't know what their debt payment or service consists.
Mine were always, this is 8 years ago. Mine were 4 point some. Nothing, which wasn't insane,
right. But how important do you think being self-motivated is?
Extremely.
Why?
Because no one's going to do it for you.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about no boss, no overseer. Well, that's just it. No one's coming to help the ants. Right. They got to do it themselves.
You want to go home and tell everyone what to do all the time? No. I don't want to have to tell my kids to sweep the floor. If you see the floor needs swept, sweep it. If you see something needs picked up, pick it up. If you see the milk's on the counter and it should be in the fridge, put it in the fridge. Mm-hmm. Like I shouldn't have to tell you every step of the way on what to do.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you should be self-motivated, everyone, because you're not getting out of the hole. If you don't have at least this character of being self-motivated, no one's telling you what to do. You are on your own.
And then it becomes routine.
Right.
It gets easier and easier the more you do it too. Right. And that's the thing.
Well, I like there used to be a t-shirt. I think it was like 30 seconds out, no one's coming. And it's just a military. In other words, you are on your own. Exactly. No one is coming. You are here and you're going to have to fight and you're going to have to battle and you're going to have to scrap. Mm-hmm. My generation is so used to it. Like we're so used to being scrappy because our parents couldn't give us anything because they were barely making it. So then if you wanted jeans, if you wanted sneakers, I remember back in the day, Puma basket sneakers were like the sneaker to have. Like everyone wanted the Puma. They were white leather and they had a black stripe. I think they've actually remade them now. They've actually come back to it, and it would be something that I can see being very stylish today. There's a while it was not, but back in that day, yeah, it was. That's what. But if my dad, mom weren't going to go buy us Puma sneakers, we had to go out. We wanted that. We had to go mow lawns or work, and so when I was working, I've shared it before, but the first year I was working, I gave my dad 70%. I only made $3 an hour. I worked every night after school. Every day. Now the place closes like 5:30 or 6, whatever it was. Then Thursday and Friday night they were open, and then Saturday half a day. So I was constantly, and I walked a lot, between the plaza and my house. Mm-hmm. So once I was home from school, I'd go and show up and I'd work for them. But I only made $3 an hour, whatever those hours were. My dad got 70% of it my junior year and 60% my senior year. He said, I'll let you keep a little more. I still managed to have $1,000 saved. even at the end of all that, I only made.
That's good.
I got to keep 30% or 40% of making $3 an hour, and I saw it say, but I gave it to my dad anyway, most of it, because he needed a car. So my savings actually went in, and the consolation I had is we were so poor that I didn't have loans for college. I had grants for college. I didn't have to pay any of it back. So my college was what I owed for college every year. You could pay on a summer job. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't. We were low on the line. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's okay. Like, I never minded it, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't mind growing up on the poorer side. I didn't mind. I think you don't know anyway. Like, you don't really realize you are. It's just your life. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, so you're gonna scrap and save, and you're on your own. You don't know. It's the only life you know. We're all happy. Like, all my brothers will say, we love the way that we grew up. We were all very happy. We had a lot of fun. We played together. We worked. You know what I mean? We had great experiences. You know, we have great memories. And so I never felt like that was a big deal at all. But you had a mentality. Like, you come out of that with a mentality. I had to pay for all my college. I had to pay for it. Whatever wasn't paid for grants was on me. I mean, my parents were never going to help any of it. Any car I bought, gas, insurance, anything that I did was 100% on me. That's the way you were used to living. I don't know that the younger generation has as much need, because I think the parents had more money and they were able to give more to their kids. And in some ways, you wanted to, because you realize you didn't have it. And you could argue that's a mistake. You know what I'm saying? On our part, you should make them struggle just like you had to struggle, because that's what made you scrappy. But having that scrappiness, you realize, hey, there's a lot of ways you can do stuff, man. You can make stuff. When we renovate our house, was a bomb, was a disaster. You fall through the floors, you get daylight coming through the ceiling. Right. I mean, the place was rotted. It was terrible. And we renovated the whole place. I've been living there thank God, for 27 years now. We love it. I love where I live. But man, to walk into that house, everyone's like, you're crazy trying to fix this house. I'd bulldoze it and be done with it. And I built something new. And we're like, no, we don't.
Do you do a lot of it yourself?
I did a lot of the demolition myself. Yeah. I stripped all the trim myself. I fixed every window.
But like everything
myself.
You could.
Everything I could myself. Yeah.
Because that saves a lot of money.
Land. We traded land. There was no money. No one had any money. So we traded land away parcel by parcel because I bought 100 acres of land with the house almost. So I traded 53 acres away, kept 44 at the end of the day. You know what I mean? We were done the project and I'm like, well, I don't need more than that, so I'm not farming. I just look at it as very pretty,
Yeah, absolutely.
But you weren't afraid of it because you weren't afraid of working. You weren't afraid of making something happen and hustling and realizing, hey, I got to be all in.
And even, I mean, nowadays, honestly, you got to work. You have to work multiple jobs to make ends meet.
I mean, hope not. I mean, I hope not everyone.
Well, you do.
Yeah. Do you?
No, but I also have like a career.
Well,
people who don't have a career, and I don't get into this argument. And people are like, "Oh, McDonald's needs to pay a livable wage." No, because it's not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, that should be a temporary job unless you're like higher up. But if you're, the fry cook, no, I don't think you should be making
if you're not making a decent wage, you're not trying. I hate to tell you that, but you are not, because you're contenting yourself with less because there are people that need, you're looking at HVAC companies. Almost everyone needs workers. People are paying more for the workers because there's supply and demand issue. Right. There's tons of ways. I remember people, they go out and drive a dump truck and make $50,000 a year. That was ages ago. You could.
I think it should be supplemental. If that's your side hustle, yeah, by all means. My wife and I, when we were first married, we didn't have two nickels to rub together. So we drove all the way out to Mentor and we're donating plasma. And there were sometimes they're like, oh, the machine's not gonna be able to distinguish because you ate too much dairy or whatever. Or like, they poked us wrong the last time and your arm is a big bruised mess. Right. Oh yeah, we can't put a needle in this. It's like, are you kidding? We drove all the way out here and we don't get our whatever incentive that it was. I mean, that's kind of how we made ends meet.
Right.
It wasn't our main thing. It couldn't have been because that's not sustainable.
Well, no,
it was our
but there's always another way to skin the cat.
Absolutely.
There's always something else. I'm going to get to that though.
Yeah,
come back
it's called
to that
Facebook Marketplace. I was selling everything I didn't use and I didn't have that much to sell. But it was like, oh, I don't use these headphones and they're nice headphones. Sold them for like $75.
Right.
Bought protein with it. Actually, I do remember that one.
Well, I think one thing too, you can save money by not eating out, by planning ahead. Like one of the things I want to talk about is just, planning for the future, saving for the future. I mean, obviously the aunt is self-motivated. They're hardworking. We have to be too. And they're saving for the future. And that's one observation I make, because they're putting aside, right, in summer and harvest, they're putting away conceivably so the hive can survive. Hive of ants is going to make it because of all the things they've stored away. I mean, they're not storing it away for nothing. I mean, they're storing it away to use that because they need it. Mm-hmm. So Proverbs 13:11 is a good savings verse, because it says dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. So you gather it little by little. And that's an important concept, because sometimes it doesn't really seem like you're doing much. You save $5, $10, $40, $50, a week, a month, whatever it is, it's going to add up eventually. So we were in a parsonage when we first moved here. So I told Jerry, I said, well, look, maybe we're in this parsonage for 30 years, and maybe some days we retire and we don't have a house because we've been in a parsonage forever. We have no idea what the future holds. I said, well, what we can't do is not save for a house. So someday, if I save up for a house, I'll be able to buy one someday. So we were putting $40 a week away for that. So the $120 a month. Well, guess what? 7 years later, and time goes fast, when the house I live in now came up and I was able to buy it, well, I had $7,000 down. So that was good. That was a decent chunk of money to put down on the house. And I had that because I had been saving. It didn't seem like a lot. Like, even when I say it now, I'm like, that doesn't really seem like much money, but that's what we did. And it did work, because then when we were buying a house, at least I had a down payment for it. So that was a good thing. But little by little, it was just a little bit here and a little bit there, and we saved money and we gathered it. And that's an important concept. I think people should save money.
Absolutely.
Because you get yourself into trouble. A lot of times you're getting yourself in trouble. Yeah, because you're eating every dollar. I shouldn't say you're not eating, you're consuming every dollar that you have that comes in, and then you get a hiccup along the way, break a bone, or somehow get laid up, and you only get paid if you're working.
There's more month at the end of the money.
All of a sudden, there's no cushion. Like you're running with no cushion. I do not like to run without a cushion.
Absolutely.
Like, I want a cushion.
Yeah, rainy day fund is a super important thing, because accidents do happen. Flat tires do happen. You break your arm, like things you can't plan for. Right. Now, when your tires go bald, well, you can plan for that, because it doesn't happen overnight. Right. It happens over time, so you can be saving that money. Right. So, I mean, Dave Ramsey recommends 3 to 6 months emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of your expenses, not your income, but just your expenses, your absolute needs. Have that saved and set aside.
I may have done that a few times in my life. I don't know if I've always been there. I know I'm not. But he says at least save $1,000 to start with.
Yeah, well, it's your start emergency
you should start
fund.
Saving as much as you can, because you're going to need it for something eventually, right? So I think it's wise. I don't disagree with that. I think if you can do that, that's absolutely great. But there's a fable, and it's not a Bible thing. There's a fable, the grasshopper who comes begging off the ant, because the grasshopper ate everything he had and he didn't have anything saved. That's a problem. Ant's way more secure because the ant's been putting stuff away. You're way more secure if you can put it. It's not a biblical story, okay? It's just a fable story. So I'm thinking about some of the things then that are draining our resources. Like, what are some of the things that are really draining Americans? Maybe some in your age group too have to face it. And I would say one of the things that I would say, aside from just not being careful what we spend and going to vending machines all the time, buying your lunch out every day, which you don't have to do. Pack a lunch, you're going to save a lot of money. A lot of ways to save money in this country. You don't think about it. Hey, I'm going to stop and get a coffee every day. Okay, well, that was $5. Yeah. Times 5, $25. That's 100 to, let's say, $110 a month. Well, you have $110 a month to spend. You better make that decision looking at the whole thing and stop just because it'll nickel and dime you. Like, if you're not careful, you just buy a little of this, a little of that. And I can fall in the same, not coffee, but other things. I need this tool. I need that tool. Now, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Let's think about this for a second. Do I really need that right now? I was told, hey, I got a tractor, a used tractor, still not cheap, but glad to have it. But hey, now you need this tool. And I'm like, I do, but maybe I'm going to make do without that right now.
Maybe my neighbor has one I can borrow if I just ask and humble myself and knock on his front door.
Actually, I wouldn't even have to humble myself to ask Tony.
Right.
Tony would just lend it to me.
Because you have a relationship with him.
Right. Well, he said I can use my tractor anytime you want, but And then the tractor I would use is over here. And it's like, we have so much work to do. It's just not really that feasible, to be honest, but appreciated his offer. But I would say you've got to save for that future, and you've got to be careful. Things are going to take, like when I bought a tractor, I ended up borrowing for myself, but I called a bank just to see what they would say. You know, I'm going to buy this tractor, and here's what it is, and how long would it take, and blah, 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 and what's the interest rate? 13% for 5 years. 13%. At that point, buying used didn't even help me anymore, because I would be paying, but because you got to calculate what the whole thing is. Okay, so they said your payment's going to be this much a month. So I took it that much a month, times it by 60. I'm like, well, I'm right up to the cost of a new tractor. Like, what's the point of that? It was the point of buying a used tractor. I would have paid so much interest. I didn't do it, obviously, because I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. I think some people just do it and not think about how much money, because here's what interest means. Interest is what you're paying the institution to borrow that money. That's what interest is. It's your cost for borrowing money. And those amounts change depending on what it is. You may be able to buy a new car, 1.9. Kubota, by the way, sells new tractors for 0% interest, which is great if you want to pay that full price. It's 0. So those are always, I mean, you always love it when you hear 0% interest, right? Mm-hmm. That's the best.
Still a debt, though.
Sometimes you can get some vehicles you can buy and it's 1.9. Some vehicles you buy, it's 5.9. It depends on the vehicle, but it makes a difference. That's what I'm saying. Like, you've got to learn to do math and to calculate and to figure out how much is it going to cost you, and can you afford that? And nowhere is that more true than on a credit card. Yep. If you ever sat down, because I did this, by the way, last night, I sat down and I tried to figure out how to figure out credit card interest rates. It is so complicated that it's not complicated in theory. It's the formulas are complicated. I couldn't even figure it out. I just had to go with some of the generic stuff that they told me. I know it's not good. So, like, what is it going to actually cost you? Because here's what if you do not pay your credit card off every month, you're going to pay interest on that balance, whatever that is. And it's an APR, so 24%, 25%, let's say. So what they do is they add it to you every day. Every single day, they are adding that little fraction of the percentage to your loan. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be paying interest on the interest. You're going to be paying interest on the principal, and you're going to be paying interest on the interest every month.
AKA, it's all working against you.
It's all working against you. And that's why you got to be so careful when you're using them. So,
but if you have a savings account that makes, let's say, 3%, 5%, 4%, which are out there, online savings account, you put your money in, interest is working for you.
Yes.
You invest in the stock market, interest is working for you.
I'm going to actually do one of those money markets, whatever they call them, at some point. But I knew I had so many projects going on.
That's a little different than just a savings account, but it's
the one I want a savings account that's actually paying interest.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I want. You're not going to use it, but we had so many projects going. I knew there was no point.
It's not going to be in your brick and mortar bank.
It because I did 3 projects in 3 years. It's just big projects, and then I had a bunch of little ones in there too. So that was taking anything I would have put in that was kind of going in, which is okay. But anyway, here's just, I pulled this off the internet, okay, on calculating interest. The principal, so some guy, he borrows $2,000 and it's 20% interest. And he pays $60, which is every month. So then what they do is they take that interest. So they do the 20% divided by 12 months and they apply it. They said they're not even showing you the daily. They're just showing you what it would be a month. It'd be $33. Well, guess what? You paid $60, but you've also paid for the $2,000 at $33. So really you didn't pay $60. You ended up paying $26 against the principal because of the interest.
Right.
Now it's going to take this guy, if John continues paying the minimum, he will spend, for his $2,000 he borrowed, he's going to spend $4,241. So it's double. So I'm going to buy something for $2,000, but I'm going to pay $4,000 for it. And it's going to take him 15 years to pay it off. 15 years. Mm-hmm. This is the craziness. As I said, somebody in our church, a very real, in hard times, had something happen to them, got thrown on a credit card. I was told it will take them 20 years to pay that off, paying the minimum.
AKA, paying the minimum will get you nowhere.
Right.
Paying minimum will dig your hole deeper.
Right. So I would say at that point, okay, that's what I hate. Now, I know from my own experience, one time I had a credit card, and there's something to do with like when we were renovating the house or at that point in my life. So I'm in my 30s at this point, and maybe I put $800 on there. It was like a hallway that was just getting longer and longer. I'm like, what is this? I finally got out of it, whether it took me 6 months or 8, I don't remember. I finally got out of it. I said, I will never do that again. I never did, because I could see it was like a sand trap. It was like being in a trap. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's just hard to get out of. And you realize people are on hard times. What a difficult spot they're in right now. So then what do you do about that? Well, you gotta work at getting out of debt. You've got to get work, and you have to be so dogged about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
That it's just, that's your thing. Like when my wife and I've shared the story before, some of you've heard it, maybe even recently, but we had $11,000 worth of debt when we got married. $1,000 of my college debt, $8,000 of Jerry's, $2,000 on a Chevette that I went and bummed the money from my grandma. So we paid it in 13 months. Making now, I made $10 an hour and she made $6. That's all we made, and we still paid it off. But I'm going to tell you what, we ate pizza, maybe like Jerry said, we might have gotten pizza 2 or 3 times our whole first year of marriage. Every piece of furniture we had was a hand-me-down, or I got for $10 at a yard sale. And it was...
Sounds like my first couple years of
marriage. They were rough,
rough,
man. They were rough. And it was okay. I value those days. I mean, they were some of the funnest days I had in my whole life. And it was great, because money doesn't make you happy.
Yep.
You get on those tough times, you're paying stuff down, you know what, you're happy as a clam. So I had no problem. We were not miserable doing it. We were just glad we could. So we paid it down in 13 months. And that was the end of it. So, and I think that, but it took an absolute commitment by both of us, by both of us. It took an absolute commitment to pay that down. If we wanted something extra, if I was working overtime, then typically if you worked overtime, if you work 17 hours overtime, you get $170 extra. Because it was like, yeah, you got time and a half, but by the time the government took their part,
right,
you knew that after taxes, you were going to get your actual pay. So that was cool. But that's what, like, then we might buy a VCR. We might buy a TV or something extra. Only with overtime money would we do that. So, and so when you work 17 hours in a row, let me tell you what, when an engine went down, you're working for a big gas pipeline, engines are, you got to climb ladders to get to them. They took off pistons like with an overhead crane. That's how a piston came out. Like they were so big. To take the top off of one of the cylinders, took an overhead crane to do it. You're talking like 2 3/4 inch nuts around the bowls, like big, huge impact equipment. It was interesting to see it. Like these engines were so massive, but when one went down, they were compressing less gas. That was a no-no. You were going to work nonstop until it was fixed. So that's where you would get these 17 hours of overtime. Like you would do it.
Wow.
In a row. Like no one would stop working. There were days we'd be there 20 hours a day, and they would say 2 a.m, go home, be back at 6. Everyone's tired.
Dedication.
Everyone's tired. You know what I'm saying? You're tired. There's nothing else you could do. I mean, there was the engine was the station's down. The station's down. You're going to work till it's up. You're the maintenance crew. That's how it was.
And that was for $3 an hour?
No, that was $10 an hour and 64 cents and 65 cents. Let me tell you
big
what.
Money. Big money
back in
then.
the 80s, you were happy to have a job to pay $10
You'd be a fry cook at McDonald's for $15 or 17, but whatever it was up in
But
Austinburg.
again, my rent was $300, maybe $360 a month too. Like rent was cheaper. Vehicles. I'm driving a car. I paid $2,000. I drove it till the engine blew one day. So, but anyway, I would say make more, spend less. That's all. That's your option. Get a better job, or spend less money.
Mathematically, that's the only 2 ways it works. You either start making more, and some people are at a spot in their work and their career where, hey, you can have a sit down with your boss and, ask for that raise, and you might get it with the longevity, with the tenure you built. That's great. The other option, cut your spending, cut your subscriptions. You don't need Amazon. You don't need Disney Plus and HBO and this and that and Netflix and that.
That I will agree with.
If you choose 1 or 2, that's fine. Put it in your budget. Write everything out.
Right. I mean, Amazon Plus, honestly, if you buy stuff off Amazon and free shipping, Amazon Prime, it is a pretty good deal. Actually,
or cut it and save even more money, because you won't buy so much because you'll be like, oh, well, I don't have Prime.
Well, if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. I would agree.
If it's an item that you didn't know existed 5 minutes ago, you do not need it.
You have to do whatever it takes.
Did you hear that, Aaron? That one was for you.
Listen, you have to do whatever it takes. This is a fact. When it comes to removing debt, whatever it takes, you've got to do it. If you're in trouble and you got these high interest rates, I'm telling you, you need to get that. You need to get to that and get that debt out of there. Because here's the thing, you're bleeding money. You're bleeding money in interest rate. You are paying way more for that. You buy a pair of sneakers. I don't care what it is. You buy a pair of sneakers. What are you going to be paying 15 years on it? Right?
Right.
Stop it. You got...
Statistically, here's some encouragement. Statistically, it takes people, give or take, 16 or 18 months to like fully get out of debt. So if you can put your head down and work as a team, as a unit with your spouse or your, whatever it is, and limit your expenses, make a little more money, whether that's a side hustle, whatever, about 16, 18 months, somewhere in there, you can be done.
Right. Hopefully
that's pretty hopeful.
Yeah, that's pretty hopeful. And that's okay because 16, 18 months sadly is going to blaze by because our lives are blazing by and the years
time's going to pass.
Time
anyways.
is flying. But I would say do it. And you don't have to do everything. And that's the thing, like I remind myself. It's like some people say, hey, you should get this part for your tractor too because you bought a used tractor. I'm like, no, you know what? If I don't need to do that right now, I'm not going to. I'll wait. Let me get this like paid down. I don't need to do everything. So this year we may not do planners or certainly not do as many planners as we usually do on the deck. I'll have 30 some planners. Maybe I'll do 4 to 6. I told Jerry, I'm not putting the money into plants this year. We built a roof over the decks. It's less sunny than it used to be there because of that. That's okay. That was the point of it. The planters may not do as well there. I'll do some. I'm just not going to do it because I can't. Listen, we put our money into fruit trees and into raspberry bushes and stuff like that. Like we're putting our money into stuff that's going to be giving to us later on. That's more important than a plant that's going to be living for the summer. Yeah, they're beautiful, but I got other things to look at too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it. I told Jerry, you can't do everything. Something's got to go. Something's got to give somewhere along the line.
You don't have to listen to the opinions of others.
Right. She doesn't have to listen to mine. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying when I came here, I had a 2002 Honda Civic. My commute is 3 miles one way. People are like, oh, Eric, that car's sold. It's time. You need a new one. At that time, the average car payment in America was $500 a month. For me to drive 6 miles round trip every day, I'm going to pay $500?
I love that old car.
Heck no.
But listen, you don't have to listen to this opinion either, but Eric's going to be a millionaire someday. And the reason he's going to be is because he is frugal.
Because I don't spend my money.
He doesn't spend his money.
I don't have money to spend.
He saves money. That's what it takes, though. It takes being frugal. Now, I personally...
Because I ride a bike. That's why.
I'm a big fan of
buying... You want to save money? Ride a bike.
Okay. Did you buy your bike new or used?
Used.
Okay. There you go.
5+ years old.
This Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to tell you, Facebook Marketplace is your friend. If you're looking for something, you have to buy something. I cannot tell you how many things I bought used. Just bought my tractor used. I'll probably buy a truck used. Almost all my camera, almost every lens that I've ever bought is used from someone else.
That's good.
Who used it 5 to 10 times, and now it's worth significantly less than what they paid for it. I buy that stuff used because I'm going to save a ton of money. I'm not saying I buy everything. I don't buy my underwear used. Okay, I could buy my socks used or my shoes used. I'm not saying that.
TMI.
I'm just saying there are ways to buy things more cheaply. I buy my tool, probably every tool I have on my property, like hand tool, came from a yard sale.
That's great.
Most.
Actually.
Right, because I'm a yard sale and a picker, and that's my side hustle. So I'm out there, I'm like, oh, hey, this is a good tool. It's $3. So I don't mind doing it. You can buy hoses. You cannot believe the stuff that people put out at yard sales. I'm telling you, it's staggering. You talk about saving money. I mean, we used to buy clothes for kids at yard sales. We bought all kinds of stuff at yard sales. But I'm out there at yard sales to buy old stuff to resell it. So I've been doing this for a year, side hustle. That's how I put my kids through college. That's how we've done projects around the house. And I love it. It's just fun. Like people say, you're doing that. I'm like, I know people that get up, including, I see Aaron here, Steve used to do it. He'd be up 4:30 in the morning going to coyote hunting. And I'm like, I'd rather go buy something. You know what I'm saying? I'm hunting. I'm a hunter too. I'm just not the shoot things.
Hunting out a bargain.
I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter of old stuff.
Yeah.
And the things we've uncovered, the things history, we have found handwritten history of like ghost towns out in Colorado and photos of Durango, Colorado when it's being built. I mean, I can't tell you the stuff that we've come up with. Handwritten ledger, Pierpont Township still have it from the 1821 to 1850s. All their laws, all their officers, they had positions like fence watchers, things you've never heard of today. I guess that'd be like zoning, so you couldn't encroach on somebody else's property. And so like it's just handwritten history. I mean, that stuff I've uncovered. It was a lot of stuff, we've uncovered, just out in our days, bird dog and this and that, and going to the States and finding stuff people were throwing away anyway. And Yeah, it was kind of cool, so I love it. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's been helpful for us to do projects. It was necessary for me. Like, I would have not survived if I did not do it. Like, if I didn't try to sell 10 things a week back, let's say in 2000, year 2000, and I wasn't trying to sell 10 things a week, I wouldn't have survived, because I wouldn't have had the money. Like, when a tractor tire went, and a tractor tire, I had an old tractor. I only paid $4,000 for the thing. I'm trying to sell it now. I've used the same tractor for 27 years. When it had a tire, when it was $600, well, I didn't have $600. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the only way I could get $600 was selling stuff.
Yeah.
The only way I could get the money.
And you held on to that tractor so long, you got your money's worth out of it.
Well, yeah, and I might actually get as much money as I paid for it. So
there you go.
Yeah, I've been using it for years. I love that tractor.
Mm-hmm.
But it leaks everything there is to leak. I don't need to say that on Marketplace, but it does. Yeah. I'll tell them when they come there. Like, it leaks everything. It leaks fuel. It leaks hydraulic fluid. It leaks oil. It leaks everything. It just leaks. It's just the leakiest thing you've ever seen. I'm glad it's not a boat, because I'd be sunk if it was. So it's an old tractor. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be shocked. Like, what am I going to do with nothing's leaking out from under my tractor? I'm not even going to know what to think of it. It's just like it's leaking so much. But anyway, so I think you have to plan side hustles, a possibility for people, when they go in there, and I don't have all the answers, but I know this. There's stuff you can do. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
A lot of people do a lot of things. Some people make crafts and sell them. Some people sell plasma, like you were saying. I mean, there's just any number of things that I've seen people try to do and hustle, plant things in your garden and sell vegetables out in the street, whatever it takes. I'm one of those guys. It's just whatever it takes is what I'm going to do. What other side hustles are there anyway?
There's a lot of online stuff. People do like reviews. They buy stuff, review it, survey things. I don't know if some people actually make money on that online kind of stuff. A lot of it, I mean, the real hack is doing stuff you're going to do anyways.
Right.
For example, I bought like a GoPro and I started a YouTube channel of riding my bike. I'm out there riding my bike anyways. I do a vlog, and you wouldn't believe how many people like tune in and watch it. I'm not monetized yet. I got a ways to go still, but like there's potential in it.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff I watch on YouTube myself. Bike races.
Right.
They do a race and they talk about, how they won, how they lost, what they should have done, what they ate, their training, blah, 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 blah. It's all stuff they're doing anyways.
Right.
You do it on camera and people tune in.
Right.
I started doing the same thing.
Yeah. But I think informing yourself too, like, do the math. I'm going to end with this. Look, do the math and calculate. When you go to get a car loan, there's a thing called car loan calculator. You can Google it, Safari it, whatever. You go to your browser, you look it up. It'll tell you what that payment should be. You got to understand, these people might tell you you're getting a certain interest rate. You put it everything they tell you into that car calc, what you gave for what your taxes are basically. So 6 3/4, whatever it is, you put all that information in there and it's going to spit out what that number should be. If their number is $50 higher, there's a problem.
Right.
And this is why I do it myself. You can actually, I found out yesterday, you can actually go and get an interest calculator for credit cards too. And you just put the math in and it's going to tell you how long it's going to take you to pay it off and exactly what you're going to pay. So you don't have to wait for them to tell you. A card, they're going to tell you how much you're going to spend. But you got to start thinking through and doing the math yourself and like, hey, can I afford new? Do I have to buy used? Where should I go? And get information. Like I'm looking to buy a truck at some point. I've had the same truck 11 years. It's rusting out. So at some point, and I've already put this off 2 years now. So at some point, I'm not going to be able to put it off anymore. And I'm getting information and I'm letting the guys, salesman I talk to know I'm looking all over the place and I have information. I want to know what other companies and what other organizations are asking for vehicles. I am not going to take one person's word for this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to arm myself with information. I'm going to educate myself. And looking at simply, how do you do that? Go to Facebook Marketplace, see what trucks are going for. See what beds, if you're buying a bed, if you're buying furniture, if you're buying whatever it is, see what it's selling for. And by the way, you might be able to get a great deal finding something used. Right.
Yeah. Or as the Bible says, before you start the project, count the cost.
Count the cost, right? No,
you can't afford it. Do not do it.
I think it's wise. Well, hopefully you said something that's going to help you, but I would watch the interest. I would get out of debt, and you guys do not make the minimum payment on college loans and credit card. Don't do it. You're going to be paying forever if you do that. You got to get serious and find out. And if you don't understand it, start asking questions from people. There are plenty of people in our church who understand finances very well. Eric being one of them. You can certainly talk to him. We have financial advisors in our church that you can talk to and ask questions. They'd be glad to sit down and answer the questions that you have. But you've got to get on top of it, and you've got to understand what's going on. It says in the Bible, if you don't believe in counting, it says the guy that had 100 sheep, when one was missing, he knew it. He didn't know it except he was counting. It's like, count your sheep. Know the condition of your herds, right? Know what's going on. That's what I advise you to do. Anyway, you guys all have a blessed and an awesome week.